Alright, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, coming to you from the confines of my new office / bedroom. And what I'm going to be doing right now is starting to go over the chapters in the textbook we're going to have for the AWD1111 class for the fall 2020 semester. The textbook, as you can see, is Get Programming with Node.js by Jonathan Wexler. Alright, and I thought, what the heck, I would start literally at the beginning. So, got a hard copy of the book by me. I've got an electronic book copy of the book by me. So let's just start looking at what's in here. The only thing that I do want to mention from this forward is literally shown right here. Okay. The Node.js ecosystem is built around hundreds of thousands of published packages. These packages are held in what's called the NPM, or the Node Package Manager. Notice what it says. It's the largest repository of any programming language there is by more than 6 times. The bottom line is, what that means is before going out and reinventing the wheel, you should always look and see if whatever it is you're trying to do already exists. And notice also that statistic does not even include the number of countless privately installed packages. Alright, nothing in the preface I wanted to go through. Nothing in the acknowledgments I really wanted to go through. So let's just kind of skip over those. So there's the preface. And there's nothing wrong with it, but there's really nothing worth talking about in there. The acknowledgments, I guess every author has to put that kind of stuff in there, thanking people who have helped him or her along the way. So let's look at the about this book, and let's actually take just a little bit of time to go through this. Alright, and when I say that, I don't mean a ton of time, but notice that there are in here 37 chapters. Alright, now I'm not going to sit there and read all of these to you right now. That would be asinine, for lack of better words. But not only are there 37 chapters, there are 37 chapters and there's about 450 pages. So if you do the math, each chapter is around 12 pages in length approximately. So they're not huge chapters. What the author has tried to do is break each topic he's talking about into a bunch of mini topics. Now, chapters 0, 1, and 2, and you can see them on the screen right now, is just referred to as getting set up, and that's what I'm going to do first. Then Unit 1 comes next, and that's chapters 3 through 7, and that's called Getting Started with Node.js. Alright? That's followed by chapters 8 through 12, which is entitled Easier Web Development with Express.js. Next, we move into Unit 3, beginning with Chapter 13, and that's Connecting to a Database, and that's 13, 14, 15, and 16. Very much connected with that are Chapters 17 through 21, which is entitled Building a User Model. Then in chapters 22 through 25, we go in and we start talking about the ability to authenticate and authenticating user accounts. Unit 6, which starts with chapter 26 and goes through chapter 29, is all about APIs, and it's entitled Building an API. Unit 7, which begins in chapter 30 and runs through chapter 33, is entitled Adding Chat Functionality. And finally, chapters 34 through 37 is called Deploying and Managing Code in Production. So that's what we have to look forward to. All right, so let's see. In the About This book, it says, before you get started, I'll discuss Node.js and what you'll learn in the book. Again, I've just gone through what's in the different units in the book, and I don't want to do that again, but I like this definition. Node.js is an asynchronous, event-driven Java runtime. Now, a couple things about Node.js. Node.js allows you, amongst other things, but the big thing is you can build yourself a web application. And it used to be when you built yourself a web application on the client side, you had HTML, you had CSS, and you had JavaScript. And then on the server side, you had PHP or a similar package, maybe Ruby, etc. But with Node.js, what you're able to do is you're able to have JavaScript on both the client side and the runs, and client side and the server side. Not only that, as it says right there, it's asynchronous, meaning that it's able to do several things at one time. Many programming languages run in a synchronous type of manner, where you do something, you have to wait until it's done before you can start something else. And there's a picture of this in the book someplace. We'll go over it at that time. But what happened was, back about, I think, 5 or 6 years ago, this guy, his last name is Dahl, his first name is Roland or something like that. What he did was he added basically the engine that's used inside of Chrome. All right, it's, it uses Chrome's engine called V8. All right, and what he did was he built that on top of adding to it C++, so he was able to, for lack of better words, kind of supercharge what JavaScript was able to do. All right, now these are my words. This is not a book or anything like that. So the author, talks about what asynchronous and what event-driven is. Again, the idea, the way I look at asynchronous, is that you're able to do something, and if that's something, that one task that you are doing is going to take some time, rather than waiting for it to complete, you're able to start another task. All right? And it's event-driven. We've used and worked with event-driven programming languages before. I always have looked at event-driven as being basically like, you click a button and something happens. All right? Well, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with what are called event listeners. As it says, an event listener is a function object that runs with a corresponding callback function when an event is what's called emitted. All right? And these functions sit around in memory until an event emitter fires. And when it fires, it triggers something, whatever you want to have happen. As it says here, Node.js can run applications in a particularly fast and efficient manner. Well, that's, as you'd probably guess, really, really important. All right? Node.js takes advantage of this architecture by promoting the use of events. And it uses what's called the Node.js event loop. And we'll talk about that when we get to lesson 1. It says, by its very nature, JavaScript is asynchronous, meaning tasks don't necessarily run sequentially. So in some ways, at least, this isn't exactly new. All right? And they've got an example. I don't know if I can click on this and make it show, or where. I guess it's not going to show in here. All right, but it's on page XXI in your book. where it shows you can have many things happen at once. Alright, let's just move on. There's a lot of verbiage in here, but I'd rather get going and talk about it, show it to you. Notice Node.js is only one of many platforms that you can use to build an application. It's particularly useful in web applications. That's what we're going to do here. We are, for lack of better words, going to use our own machine as both a client and as a server. And by the end of the semester, you will have built 2 or more web applications, including the one that's in the book here. And you will put those out on the internet where other people can take a look at them. As it says here, the focus of this book is teaching web development through Node.js. So in other words, you could look at it that it's more server-side driven. I would think that at least that would make some sense. And I love this where the author says who should read this book. The bottom line is he kind of says anybody and everybody. And then he goes through how it's organized. I've already talked about this. Unit 0, Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, etc. So you can read that on your own. Okay? Now, about the code. The code is available. It is out on GitHub. I've already downloaded it. I'm planning on using none of it. Except if I put in my own code and I have a problem, then I've got something I can look back on. But I will tell you that you will be responsible for entering all that code. Now, that said, is it possible you could just go and copy his code? I guess you could. But you're not going to get much out of the class if you do that. Alright, software requirements, we should all have all those met. For the text editor, he recommends Atom. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. I'm going to use Chrome. And in Chapter 1, they have you download the Heroku Command Line Interface, or CLI. Alright, but we've already, we'll worry about that when we get to that point. Okay, and Git, which we already have. Now, what I'm using here is what's called Livebook. Alright. And it says purchase of getprogramming.node gives you free access to a web forum. To access the web forum, you go here. Okay. And so if you've got questions, things that I can't answer, I guess, you'd be able to go in there and take a look right there. Okay. Here's about the author. And let's just, in just a minute, let's jump into Unit 0.